What's up, Buttercup? My name's Micah, and I started a marketing company. Let me get a sip of my cold brew here. Okay, this video, I want to talk about something I'm a little bit passionate about. My background, I have been doing a lot of graphic design, close to a decade now, but in terms of the 9 to 5, I was actually a stockbroker for almost 3 years. Didn't love it, but at the same time, it was one of the biggest blessings I could have asked for because it forced me to be in a position where I was talking to people that owned businesses day in, day out. I was working with high value clients and I was beginning to understand the importance of communication. Now, when I'm talking about communication and what I'm gonna talk about in this video, I'm not really referring to soft skills. Hopefully you already have those if you are wanting to become a marketer. Hopefully you know how to talk to people. But I'm actually talking about strategies when you're communicating to your client to ensure you're closing deals, that the communication is clear, and that you're setting yourself up to protect yourself and your company as it grows. So with that, there are 5 things I've put together when I'm talking about communication that I think are just vital. And if you can get a hold of as a young marketer, graphic designer, freelancer, whatever you are, it is gonna just make all the difference for you in terms of your experience, your client's experience, and ultimately the final product that you get. Okay, so the first point for good communication I've found with a client is do your homework. This one's gonna seem super basic, but it is one of those things that I think somewhat common sense, but we don't do a good job of teaching freelancers how to actually do your homework. When I'm talking about doing your homework, I'm not just saying know a little bit about the company. I'm actually saying know the industry that you're going into. Before you even sit down and you start doing pitches, you decide what kind of companies do you want. Now, you may not be in a position where you can be that picky with your clientele. You may need to take up the oddball job, but you want to keep that in mind. Have a plan going forward. What is the industry you're going into? Is the product or service that you're selling something that is just absolutely necessary for everyday life? Are you wanting to target luxury brands? All of these things are going to have a different level of effort that you have to put into your marketing, and that can be reflected in time, the budget, and communication. So once you have an idea of what you actually are wanting to be in, the industry that you're looking to focus in, you really need to ask yourself some questions about the industry. What are the avenues that are going to best support long-term growth and profit for the company? If it's a business-to-business type of company that you're assisting, LinkedIn may be way more valuable than Instagram is. Vice versa. It's not always the case, but you want to have these things in mind before you go into a meeting where you're in a pitch, or if you've already got the job before you're sitting down with whoever your project manager is. Remember, you're creating, yes. You're designing, yeah. You're pitching, yes. But ultimately, you're working with people. So you want to be able to give them the absolute best experience you can. Always, always, always go in prepared. Don't go in without doing your homework. And something too, I will say, this is kind of my tip or action item for this. Get familiar with the idea of SWOT analysis. This is common in business practices. A lot of larger companies especially will already have this pre-made. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a look at the internal and external factors that could affect their business. You can always ask a company if they've already have it, and if they do, they can present that for you. I would still recommend that you do your own analysis though, and look at major competitors and see what their SWOT analysis is. See what the strengths of the competitors are. See how it threatens the current company that you're trying to do a pitch for. And then from there, you can work on a pitch that specifically addresses concerns that they didn't even know they had, or maybe has already been affecting the company. This is really gonna go a long way. Point number 2, ask the right questions. Again, something that's really simple, but I don't think a lot of times we have the right framework in mind. you can be strategic in the questions that you ask. Yes, it's good to be curious, but it's also good to be a strategizer when it comes to your questions as well. That's part of what marketing is. For instance, I always would recommend you work from broad to specific. Your workflow when it comes to asking questions should be working from whatever that company's purpose is, whatever the industry standards are, down to a specific brand strategy, and then finally getting to the design. This almost shapes like a funnel that you can see. And at the top, like I said, is that company purpose. That should be the widest net. The first thing you start with is understanding the company purpose, why they do what they do, what is the need that they are fulfilling. From that, and then all the other things in the industry, we can kind of work down and start asking questions that have to do specifically with a brand strategy. This is important. You need to know, are we doing brand awareness? Are we working on new customer acquisition? Once we have that, and then we've worked on a strategy, it's not until we finish those two things I would recommend you start working on design, a pitch, copywriting, any of that stuff. That should be the very bottom of your funnel. If you flip that funnel upside down, what you'll find is when you try to pour your effort into it, a lot of it's just gonna spill out. It wasn't very effective. You're not using your energy effectively, you're not using your budget effectively, and you're really left in a position of maybe giving a poor experience to your client. So, questions. Start with the company's purpose, figure out what those are, address the concerns within the company, work from there to a brand strategy. Ask questions on the brand strategy, what they've done in the past, what they're looking for now, and then from there, start to ask design-specific questions. Point number 3, consider your expertise. Now, whether you're starting out or you've been doing this for years, you have to keep in mind one thing. You are coming in as the marketing, freelancer, graphic design expert. Your skill is not just in what you bring, it's your consultation that you can also give to the company. With that, you need to stick to your guns sometimes. Now, I'm not saying give too much pushback to the client. The client's always right. But when you are looking at certain things and you're questioning an approach or a client's wanting things a specific way and you don't think that it's going to work, voice that. But do it in a way that makes sense to them as a business. And this is the big thing. If it's about style preferences, personal opinion, leave that out. Leave your ego at the door. What you can do is voice your concerns in a way that makes sense for the business. That means voicing them in terms of the finance, the timeline. All of those things are going to be relatable to whoever your project manager is. If you don't think something's going to be an effective strategy, tell them. Give them specifics as to why. Explain why you don't think it's going to work using the mediums that they want. And something that I would give as a physical tip for this one is always, always, always record. And record all conversations you have with your project manager. I don't care if it's a physical recording, I don't care if it's emails. Make sure you save that. That way, if you do voice a concern and a client goes against what you have to say, you can always go back and say, look, this was the recommendation I gave you. Last quarter, last month, we did your approach and it didn't quite work. Maybe we should revisit this and actually try it this way. Because again, you are the expert. That's why you're there. If you think something's gonna work better, tell them that. Because you can always fall back on your word and the word of the people that you work with, especially if you have proof. Point number 4. This again is going to be one of those points that I feel like is common sense, but I'm just surprised at the number of people that don't do this. Be consistent with your communication. What I found with all of my clientele is that they never doubt the talent of the marketer they're dealing with. They always doubt the trustworthiness. Almost all of my clientele that I have nowadays, it's not really even from advertisement that I get. It's all word of mouth based on how trustworthy I was in handling a project. So you want to make sure that you're setting the expectation, you're managing expectations of your client on how they'll hear from you and when they'll hear from you. I personally recommend if you have a new client, send them an email just to outline your process from start to finish and for them to expect when you'll respond, how you'll respond, and when they can reach out. Now, of course, if you're working with a specific client and they need you to work outside of your normal hours, or they've got a particular communication method that they need you to work with, absolutely negotiate that with them. Don't lose the sale over that. But it would be better for that to be the exception than that be the rule. It's gonna make sure that you're not running yourself dry, you're not on an empty tank, you're, again, consistent, which helps you in the long run, not only with your energy, but with your clientele overall. If you tell a client you're going to do something, you're gonna follow up on something, you're gonna communicate something, please, please, please do it. It just speaks so much volumes in this industry when you can be a man or woman of your word, and that's a reflection of your company as a whole. And just one quick follow-up, I thought, again, if you're just starting out, you may not be able to say no too many times to the clients that you're working with, but this is also gonna really help you see the type of clientele you wanna work with and you don't wanna work with. My last point, again, kind of keeping the theme that this is common sense, but hopefully giving a little bit of pragmatic advice with it. You are a professional, so act like it. You're a professional, act like it. Don't let your ego get in the way. You're gonna hear no so many times. If people don't like your designs, get over it. If people say no to certain ideas, get over it. And also with that, you have the ability to define what success looks like for each job that you do. You can manage expectations, but it requires you to start out the job by saying, this is what success looks like. If it's just content creation, you're just a graphic designer, be clear in your deliverables, be clear in what you're trying to give the client. Put it in your contract, reiterate it in an email, make sure that they understand what they're getting. If you're doing a more general marketing, then you need to set specific metrics. I always say go with the SMART approach. SMART is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. If you can specify these 5 things in any project you're doing, you're gonna set yourself up for success. And even if you don't necessarily hit the mark with what you were expecting, you have the metrics then laid out and you can see where the weak points were. With whether it was posts, whether it was content creation, you can see what didn't reach and what did. And then from there, work on the next quarter, the next month, but ultimately you're the professional. If you handle things in a professional manner, they're gonna feel like they can trust you. Even if you're not 100% hitting everything every month, knocking it out of the park with their marketing, there is still trustworthiness in who you are. And you will, believe me, even if you're new to marketing, you will see success if you are actually setting what your goals are. If you're not, you are setting yourself up for failure, or you're setting yourself up not to be hired again. So again, that was specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Be smart in how you do things. Well, that's the video, guys. If you liked it, then like it. Maybe subscribe. I'm gonna work to get more quality content uploaded for you guys. And remember, I'm Micah. I started a marketing company called Star Marketing, and I'll see you later, alligator.